Have you ever wondered why the USSR fell? The USSR fell in an attempt to catch up to the United States in military and other things. And they wasted huge amounts of money Gorbachev, in an attempt to save the economy, made reforms such as the glasnost, which means transparency, and made it so that the government couldn't hide anything from the people or the entire world. Gorbachev also created the perestroika, which meant restructuring, so they were going to restructure the USSR. But as he said himself, the old system collapsed before the new one could start working, and the crisis in the society became even more acute. Satellite states began leaving the USSR and holding their own democratic elections.
Okay, I'm leaving.
I'm leaving.
I suppose I will too. Except Georgia.
You know what? I think we can still be buddies. I'm Georgia. I'm not leaving the U.S.S.R. I'm here for you.
During the 45-year period of the Cold War, the tensions never grew as high as the 13-day period known as the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Wow.
In 1961, under the influence of the Truman plan, the U.S. tries to invade Cuba's communist government. They fail.
Wow.
As a result of this, Cuba seeks help from the U.S.S.R. and they contact Russian Premier Nikita Khrushchev. Khrushchev responds by sending missiles to Cuba.
Wow.
Due to the extensive spying, Kennedy and his ambassadors call a meeting and they demand an immediate invasion of the island. Instead of this, Kennedy decides to create a naval blockade and quarantine the island.
Wow.
In response to the quarantine, Khrushchev sends a letter to the United States entailing
the violation of freedom to use international waters and international airspace is an act of aggression which pushes mankind towards the abyss of world nuclear missile war.
On October 27, 1962, a spy plane over Cuba, piloted by Rudolf Anderson, was shot down by a Soviet surface-to-air missile.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
On the same day, a Soviet nuclear sub was shot by a U.S. Navy depth charge, signaling it to come up.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
But the commanders on the ship, too deep to communicate with the surface, thought it was an act of war.
Wow.
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 The captain and political officer both authorized the launch, but Vasily Arkhipov refused, effectively saving the entire world.
Oh.
Wow.
For the first time in U.S. history,
Wow.
DEFCON has been placed at 2,
Wow.
one step away from full-on nuclear war.
Wow.
Despite the conflict throughout the world, diplomacy continued. In D.C., Attorney General Robert Kennedy secretly meets with Soviet Ambassador Anatoly Dobrynin to negotiate terms. After the negotiations, they decided that U.S. missiles would be removed from Italy and Turkey, and Soviets would be withdrawn from Cuba under UN expect. At 9 o'clock, Khrushchev announced that the missiles would be removed from Cuba, thus ending the crisis.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to Atomic Forecast. Alright, today we have Cuba with their hundreds of nuclear missiles. They've got the capability to wipe out the entire United States. Well, that's it. Thank you. On May 1st, 1960, Francis Gary Powers was flying over Soviet Russia in a U-2 spy plane. U-2 spy plane can fly 70,000 feet above sea level and has a wingspan of 70 feet. When he was flying, he got hit by a surface-to-air missile, and he was supposed to detonate the cameras so that there was no evidence. But he did not do this. He ejected himself and he was supposed to kill himself with a silver dollar. He was supposed to inject himself, but he did not do this. He landed in a Soviet field, and there were Soviets all around him. He got sent to jail for 2 years. It was supposed to be 3, but the U.S. traded him for a Soviet spy. Many United States citizens were angry at the fact that Gary Powers did not commit suicide, and therefore it led to the trading of spies.
Today, President Truman presented on the Congress floor the Truman Doctrine, as it will be known in the future. It basically strengthened our stance on communism, and it's giving aid to Greece. It is showing how the U.S. is going to be more active in conflict and will promise to fight the commies everywhere. And we are going to President Truman's speech live right now, actually. Hi, President Truman here. The year is May 12th. The day is March 12th, 1947. Today I'm proposing to the Congress that we need to strengthen our stance on communism, okay? We need to promise to fight those commies in foreign lands around the world. The Greeks, they ain't too good right now. They're going through a civil war, that I can say. They got democracy on one hand, and on the other hand they got communism. Communism's kind of drooping down a little bit. It's kind of sad. See my hand? See how sad this communism is? It's very sad. We need to promise to those small democracies around the world that we will help them. For example, the Turkish, they're in a bad spot too. The U.S.S.R. is taking advantage of them and regurgitating them through making them give all their nuclear weapons away. I think we should send $400 million of U.S. taxpayers' money to help them out. We need to stop the spread of communism by any means necessary. We must stop the spread of communism. We need to stop the expansion of the U.S.S.R. We need to stop it where it counts. We will help these smaller countries become democratic. We need to spread our peaceful ways by force. That's America, folks. That's what we're all about. We're about showing other countries this doctrine will help all Americans have a sense of where they are in the world. They will know that foreign lands, we got America there, helping them out. Can I hear an amen? Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus.